Thank you very much for the very kind introduction. Several VIP guests emphasized that this is an event for cultivate young talent. So I think the most exciting part is I'm still part of the young talent. This is really, really exciting and very nice. And I'm actually a researcher working on technology development since the past 20 years. And a few years ago in 2016, it's like an opportunity from the God that I have the opportunity to launch the Cancer Moonshot program in Taiwan. And this is an extremely inspiring process that I learned how to do the teamwork. How can we combine many, many heroes into a big kingdom for the space of cancer research and further translate it into the potential utility in the clinic. So I'm really excited to share the process. I will not talk much about the technology, so complicated, big, super big data, but I want to share with you the process. My field is something called proteomics. That means we want to develop technology to analyze all of the protein, more than 20,000 different kinds of protein in human beings. And this is a super powerful tool that is able to tell you the protein network from your human body, from the plant, from bacteria, everything. And but I have a big switch in my career. I was doing instrumentation, but then I was attracted by the field. So I started to develop technology from the cell line to animal. And then someday I realized if I can analyze animal, the tissue from the organ, why should I should be able to do something for human? So I started to work on the human analysis since about 10 years ago. Even that topic was not appreciated in that moment because people may consider that I'm still a chemist. I should do something more related to the analytical chemistry. So that is the story. And because I also start to think, what is the impact of this? Even I am able to analyze so many proteins, then what will be the next? What is the impact for the society? What is the impact of my research? So I really think that I really want to go forward. So that means I can start from collaboration with the medical doctor to try to tackle the disease. And in the case of cancer, it's a highly complex disease. So different population may have the different background. And the different genetic background may cause a different immunity, the response to the drug. And on the other side, we also have a totally different lifestyle. For example, the food are so different. The Chinese food is good, and I'm not sure if it's healthy enough. And we also have the issue of the environmental contamination or factor in the Asia. So all this together, that may make the change for the different phenotype of the disease, especially for cancer. So in 2008, I always feel that most of the clinical settings are from the research of the Western population. But if we want to understand our patient and further develop the new strategy, it's very important to have the to have the evidence how are our patients. So based on this idea, I start to work with a lot of doctors to analyze the cancer patient starting from 10 years. And the journey actually starting from this amazing, interesting email. This is an email I received in 2016. That was the Sunday, the typhoon was there, and I was organizing an international conference. I was so crazy about the typhoon. But look at the email. The email mentioned that I was invited by former President Joe Biden to join the meeting for Cancer Moonshot on 18. And then that was already 18. That means I need to buy the ticket and fly to the United States immediately. And when I received email, I saw how is that possible? There's no political relationship between Taiwan and US, and I'm just a research fellow. How is it possible? I was invited by Joe Biden. So I saw somebody is making a joke. I totally ignored, but this is true. And this is the story how we are invited to the Cancer Moonshot. And as I said, because my lab is doing a lot of tissue analysis, and that aligns with the objective from one of the projects under the Cancer Moonshot. And the idea is very simple. For Americans, they feel that cancer is probably the most emerging chronic disease in the coming 20 years. So they want to do the research to accelerate the process for detection, screening, and also the treatment. And because this is so difficult, that's why they use the moonshot to suggest the challenge. So if we have a good space shuttle that can lead us to the moon, so that's the idea. And so since then, since 2016, Taiwan signed the MOU with the US for this project. But next question is, even we signed the MOU, it's a virtual collaboration, right? No funding, no support. Every country try to make your own budget. So my next challenge is, how are we able to get the funding for this kind of ambitious project? And I remember I talked to so many ministry and funding agent about the potential funding. But when I talk to them, because I'm a chemist, I'm a researcher, they probably do not use the same language. So everybody told me that cancer is already solved because Taiwan has a lot of nice action for supporting the national health system. So they don't feel that it's important to do the research. But I told them, look at the evidence here. For Taiwan and for US, for example, even it's the same cancer type, lung cancer. But there are so many questions in our patient. For example, most of our patients are mostly never smoker, but they still get cancer. And another important unmet need is our patients tend to be younger and younger. For example, in the case of lung cancer, our patients tend to be 5 to 10 years younger. But if you compare the male and the female, it's another 5 years younger for the female. So this is really an emerging issue that we have more and more female patients in lung cancer. And in 2021, it started to be more than the male. So I finally used this evidence to tell them this is important questions. So I want to thank the very generous support from the government, especially the executive yuan. After 1.5 years, we finally got the support. And so we started to work on the project since 2018. So the message here is I want to remind everybody that when you talk to your party, you need to make sure that the other side understand your language and appreciate the content of what you want. This is very, very important. And then the next challenge is, okay, I get the money. What is the next? I need to execute the project, right? But for me, I only understand my research. I only understand the protein part, the proteomics part. But for genome, transcriptome, or the clinical setting, these are so new. I even do not understand mutation. I'd heard about mutation, but I never understand why is that at that time. So what should we do? I want to emphasize again, this is very important. I only understand my science, but I don't understand the other part. So the multidisciplinary research is a great strategy to combine all the talent and the expertise to further solve the same questions. Everybody is working on the same question. So I was very fortunate to assemble a highly multidisciplinary team. So I will use this way to describe. This part, the left-hand side is the brain. The brain, they input the idea. They tell us the unmet clinical need. They tell us what do they need for patient, what do they need to solve the cancer issue. And the right-hand side here are the hands. We are the one to provide the technology, to analyze the sample. So all together, it makes a great team for Taiwan Cancer Moonshot. And of course, in the beginning, it takes a lot of communication and sometimes a lot of fight and argument because we don't understand each other. And also, if you know the Chinese name, these are all the top leading leaders in the field. Everybody is a hero. How can heroes talk to each other? That is not easy, right? Especially for clinical community, everybody is a king. And we cannot have so many kings. And so, but fortunately, because of the highly coordinated effort from the team and many fight and argument, finally, everybody is aligned to work on the same direction. So even Taiwan started the project much later, 10 years later than the United States. But we are very happy that the first study on the non-smoking lung cancer was finally published just in 3 years in the Cell. And we are also very happy that it's even appeared in the cover story of the Cell. So this is extremely big excitement that tells us multidisciplinary work is very, very important and useful. And I will not go through the detail, but I just want to give you a few highlights why this is important. This is the first study to use the very deep proteogenomic data as the evidence to tell us that non-smoking lung cancer in the East Asia is totally different from the smoking lung cancer in Western population. And because they are different, that means they must have a lot of unmet needs that you need to address. So following the paper, we also have 3 follow-up studies to further develop the assay for the patient's benefit. And again, I want to emphasize, we do not just want to publish a paper. The practical utility is much, much more important for our team and not the cell nature. And for example, in this study, we are the very first one to identify 2 environmental carcinogen signatures that was not observed in the Western population TCGA. For example, these 2, and one of it is related to the mutational signature likely caused by nitro pH, which is related to the air pollutant. And the other one is related to the nitrosamine, which is also related to the food preservation. So following this study, we have another project. We want to identify the specific molecules that will be potential environmental carcinogen. So if you have the healthy policy for inhibition of this utility, then that might be more important for the prevention of the cancer. And the other thing is we actually use the proteomics to identify a classification system. And if you combine that classification system with the clinical setting here, we find out that there's a group of the people, even though they are the very early stage 1A, stage 1B, but their molecular profile are quite similar to the patient from the late stage. So we call this patient late-like, similar to the late-like patient. So that means they may have the high risk of the recurrence or the death. And of course, you need to do the validation, right? And because, as I said earlier, I have a long experience to talk to the doctor, so I know what are the questions, what are the unmet needs. So when I see this, I suddenly find out that there's an interesting phenomenon that we find out that EGFR mutation of this type is all grouping here. And this is a long-standing that people realize the outcome for these 2 types are different, but they don't know the mechanism. So after I found that, I tried to talk to my physician collaborator, are you able to do the validation? And the answer is quite positive. Yes, we find out that the patient of the LA5R actually have a poor survival compared to another mutation type deletion 19. And this difference only appeared at the stage 1B, but not on the stage 1A. So this indicates that the proteomics may be another new type of the classification to tell you the outcome of the patient. And I will talk about the follow-up later. So based on this study, we are also very excited that we actually have some discussion with the international team from the United States. So this is a 2 side-by-side publication altogether from the Cell. And please look at the cover story here. I also want to clarify, this is not Yu-Ju Chen. This is the female, because in Taiwan cohort, we focus more findings on the female. But for the United States, they focus more on 70% of the patients are male. So this indicates that international cooperation work together to find out the different pathogenetics and mechanism associated with the same disease. And because of the relationship, United States feel that, Taiwan team may be great because we really have a great clinical team and also the technology is nice. So they invite us to further collaboration to really do the data analysis together. So now we have a bi-weekly meeting every other week for 500 patients. And look at the number of Taiwan representatives. There are more than 40 technical talent every meeting, but there are only maybe 7 or 6 from Taiwan. So this is an extremely interesting and stressful process, but we also learn a lot. But with this kind of international collaboration, we are able to ask an even greater challenge. Why is the difference between the race? Why is the difference between the smoking and non-smoking? And how about the impact of gender, especially for female? And finally, we can also validate whether the environmental carcinogen is more promising, a more emerging issue in our population compared to the US. But this takes a lot of effort and the price. This is one of my agenda last 2 weeks ago, and you could see that I have so many international meetings after 9 o'clock almost every week. So I think this is a very interesting process and experience that we have a very frequent discussion with the US team from all these excellent institutions and to discuss everything about the project. So I think there's a lot of advantage and the pros from this kind of collaboration. You are able to know what is the most advanced technology and the data quality. You are also able to learn what are the emerging research topics in the US. And of course, I feel that this is my observation. I think the working efficiency is very, very high in this US team. So I think this also inspires my team member how to work more efficiently. And of course, the English speaking skill or the arguments fighting skill may be improved, during the process. And most importantly, I think my team also receive a lot of learn a lot from the process, so it will be more competitive in the future. And finally, I think friendship, networking are also important. And in the beginning, we heard that the Broad Institute is a super ambitious team and sometimes too aggressive. But during the interaction, I find out that they are a very nice team and very, very competitive team, so we become good friends. So I think this is very important. And because of collaboration, we also jointly develop a new, the very first CLIA equivalent medical assay in Taiwan. And so I think this is one of the process that, you never imagine that you are able to achieve before you started the process. So I also want to announce that our team finally launched the very first Taiwan cancer proteogenome knowledge base last year in NCHC 国网中心, and all the data is open to user. Even you don't know much about the big data, it's a user-friendly pipeline. So we are hoping that the truthful result can be further shared by the biomedical community in Taiwan. And this is my final message. I think this is a very inspiring process, but you need to, have some change in your mindset. Sometimes when you work in the front, it's a very lonely process. But if you combine a team, everybody share the loneliness and also the challenge together. So, but it's very important that you need to understand each other. You need to understand what the other side needs from the process. And mutual trust is also very important. And sometimes I also find out that the student or the member may not have the correct information. So the right in communication is extremely important to your team member. And finally, you need to relax on the gain or loss. Sometimes it's difficult to evaluate whether it's a gain or loss. Maybe you lose something, but maybe you gain some more in the future. And finally, even the result is not negative, but you learn the process and experience, right? And sometimes you may be hurt because of some issue, but next frame may be better. So I think this is a very, very interesting process. I really enjoy much. So I'm hoping that the process can be also shared by all of the audience here. And I wish all the best for all the young talents in the audience. Thank you.